The rain in this city doesn't fall, it waits, and then it lands on whoever is standing still. Jiho had been standing still for a very long time. Three months earlier, his director slid a folder across a desk and told him to sign where the tabs were. There were 11 of them, little colored flags, the kind you buy in packs of 100. He signed. That was the whole crime. That was all it ever took. He didn't ask what it was, because in 4 years, nobody had ever given him anything worth asking about. The auditors arrived on a Tuesday morning, carrying their own boxes. His director was in Singapore by Wednesday afternoon. He never came back. By Friday, there was exactly one name on every page that mattered. And a man who signs 11 times in 90 seconds does not look like a man who was tricked. They printed his face in the corner of the business section, about the size of a postage stamp. Small enough that nobody would recognize him, large enough that everybody did. The apartment went first, then the car, then one by one the people who used to answer. Debt is a quiet thing. It never shouts. It just removes items from a list you didn't know you were on. Until you are standing in an empty room at 2:30 in the afternoon, wondering what is left for anyone to take. 11 missed calls, all from the same number. He had stopped being frightened of it somewhere around the 6th. So he went up, not to jump. He would very much like that on the record. Only to stand somewhere the city could not reach him for 10 consecutive minutes. She was already there. A white coat, an umbrella in a place with a roof over it, not a drop of water anywhere on her. She looked at him the way you look at someone who is finally on time. She gave him a card, no name on it, no company, no address. Only a number printed large, dead in the center, 30. The tea house she chose was too warm and much too empty for a Thursday. An arrangement, she called it. 30 days. You live as somebody else, and every debt in your name is settled before your tea goes cold. He asked the obvious question, why him? She said she wants out of her life. You want out of yours. I only handle the paperwork. Then she slid the contract across the table, exactly the way his director had 3 months before. He read the first page twice. He did not read the fourth at all. He signed where the tabs were. He was, if nothing else, extremely good at that. He woke to the wrong ceiling, too high, too white, no water stains shaped like Jeju Island. The room was the size of his entire previous apartment, and it was only the bedroom. Then he noticed the hand lying on the blanket. Slim, pale, a gold ring he had never bought, and it moved precisely when he told it to. The bathroom mirror ran the entire length of the wall, which felt, in that particular moment, deliberately cruel. A woman looked back at him, long black hair, a crease in her cheek from the pillow. In an expression that face had almost certainly never worn before. He touched his throat. She touched her throat at the same instant, with the same 2 fingers. He said no. She said it in a voice like cold water, and he heard it from the inside, and that was the part that broke him. The phone on the nightstand lit the whole room. 7 a.m., car downstairs. The driver called her director Seo and held the door open and waited and did not find any of it strange. 20 floors of glass with her surname on the building directory. And a lobby full of people who straightened as she passed. Nobody had ever straightened for Jiho, not once in 28 years. The 9:15 meeting went badly. He said 4 times in the first minute. Seo-yeon apparently had never once said 14 executives watched a stranger wearing their director's face forget how to hold a pen. Afterwards, one woman stayed behind, her friend possibly, perhaps her only one. She said, "You're holding your coffee in your left hand." And then, very quietly, "You have been right-handed for 9 years." He didn't sleep. At 1 in the morning, he searched the apartment properly, the way you search a place you don't own. Behind the wardrobe in the second bedroom, there was a door. And behind the door was a room that appeared on no floor plan in the building. Photographs, ledgers, surveillance dates circled in red, going back 14 months. And a company letterhead he recognized immediately, because it was printed on the top of his own indictment. She had not been running from a life she was bored of. She had been running from what she found inside it. The man across the street had been there when she arrived home at 6. He was still there at 2 in the morning. In 8 hours, he had not once looked at his phone. People waiting for someone look at their phones. It is the only thing they do. So he did the stupid thing in her coat and her shoes. He went down. He lost him in the night market, through the steam, past the fish tanks, under the awnings. He got back inside through every lock that would throw and sat down in the hallway until the shaking stopped. It did not stop. At 3 in the morning, he finally did the one thing he had not tried. He called his own number. It rang twice. And then his own voice, the one he had used for 28 years, said, "I was wondering when you would get around to that." She chose the river. Of course she did, somewhere with 2 directions to leave in. He watched himself walk up the pier, his own thin frame, his own bad posture corrected. His own cheap gray suit worn like it had cost something. 3 weeks. She had been inside it 3 weeks, and she wore it better than he ever had. "Do you know how much work it takes to disappear?" she asked. "Money cannot do it. A new passport cannot do it. There is always a face. You gave me a face nobody looks at twice. Do you have any idea what that is worth?" He asked what was in the files. "Enough," she said, "that 4 very serious men have been looking for me since March. They are not looking for me anymore." And she pointed gently at him. He told her to swap it back. He said it twice. The second time he shouted it in a voice that carried across the water and sounded nothing like anger is supposed to sound. She took the contract out of his own inside pocket, unhurried, the way you take out a receipt. "Page 4. You really should read things before you sign them," she said. "You of all people." Clause 9. On the 30th day, the arrangement ceases to be temporary. No party may petition for reversal thereafter. He looked down at the phone in his hand, at the small gray date in the corner of the screen. Day 29. "You have until midnight tomorrow," she said, almost kindly. "That is a great deal more than I was given." And then she walked back down the pier and into the crowd, wearing a face that nobody looks at twice. Headlights swung across the water. A black car, doors opening on both sides, 4 men walking without hurrying. Because men like that have never once in their lives had to hurry. So Jiho ran, in her shoes, with her lungs, down a street that knew her name and had never in its life heard his. He caught himself in a shop window as he passed, her face wet with rain, mouth open, terrified. And behind her eyes, for the very first time, something that was entirely his. 24 hours.